Hey everyone, today we are going to talk parts, and it's a good thing because we've got a lot of them here. I've got them spread all out, but we'll try to group them all together and show you what we've got to lower this 85 C10. Actually, we've got two projects in one. We've got the lowering project, if you will, but at the same time, we are going to convert this truck from a light duty brake system to a heavy duty brake system, which basically just involves changing out the rotors, the calipers, spindle, but the spindle is tied into the lowering. So we're kind of making them both work off of each other. So stay tuned here and let's dig into the details. All right, let's start with the lowering pieces. There's three different parts to that. There is the spindles, the coil springs, and the shocks. They all come together. I think they were sourced probably from Amazon, and I'm going to give you a couple warnings about that here in just a second. But they are all Beltec. It's a Beltec kit, and we're going to go through each one of them today. This is an 85 C10, just as a reminder. The drop on this truck will be a 4/6, so 4 inches in the front and 6 inches in the back. We're just going to cover the front end today, and then we'll talk about the rear end in another video. All right, so the first item up is the spindle. So the spindle is a 3-inch drop spindle, and I'm about to give you right off the bat one of the warnings for the Amazon. This spindle, part number is 3100, and it is specifically if you have the heavy duty brake system. So what does that mean? In layman's terms, the easiest way to see if you've got the light duty or the heavy duty brakes is to measure the thickness of your rotor. If you have a light duty system like this truck had, it will be 1 inch thick. If you have the heavy duty system, it'll be 1 1/4 inches or 1 250 thousandths. If you put a set of calipers on it, they're probably going to measure, I'd say, tens of thousands thicker than that 1 inch or 1 250 thousandths. And that's just because of the oversize. I think the measurements given there are the minimum specs. But at any rate, warning one, Amazon, from what I have seen in the pages that you go to order these things, it does not specify the spindles being for one or the other. Whoever put that product description up did a poor job, and I've seen in the comments where people have ordered the wrong one and then had to return, and of course they left bad reviews. So it's okay if you order from Amazon, just be sure that you know what parts you're getting. And what I would recommend doing is, know the part numbers. That should be specified in the listing. And then go to Beltec's website. Beltec's site has all those warnings in big letters all over the place. It'll say for 1 inch brakes or 1 1/4 inches. One way or the other, you're going to have to figure out what you've got as a starting point. So measure those first, and you can just take the wheel off of it. Should be able to put a set of calipers on it and determine whether you've got the light duty or the heavy duty. And then once you figure that out, then again, if let's say you've got a light duty setup, you can decide, okay, well, I like it, it's okay. I just did the brakes last week. I want to stay with that. Fine. Then do not buy the 3100 part number spindle. Instead, I believe it's a 3200 spindle, and if you buy the kit, it'll give you a breakdown of all the parts that are in each one of those. So don't make that mistake, and you'll be off to a good start. This is a very high quality part. It looks good. Machine surfaces are good. It came shipped well. Box was in great shape. So I think this is going to turn out to be a good quality part. As we dig in with the installation, of course, all things are subject for change, so stay tuned on that. All right, so moving on, we're going to go to the springs. make sure. Oh yeah, there is one more warning. So some of the things on the spindles that I saw, let's see, on the Amazon, yeah, warning number 2. It says on the Amazon description that these spindles was made to work with a lot of 15 and 16-inch wheels that came from the factory. That may be true, but when you look at the information that come with the Beltex spindles, and then also again on their site, they will say there's a special insert here that says if you've got the original rally wheels, the 8-inch wide GM rally wheels, they're not recommended for use with our spindles due to the extreme offset. And if you've got more than, I think it's 2 3/4, somewhere between 2 3/4 and 3 inches of backspace there, then you're going to wind up hitting the lower A-arm. Now it gives you, even though it says, hey, it's not recommended with them, it gives you a couple of options that you can do. One is, it says that you can put a 5/16 wheel spacer on before the wheel, and so that's going to push the wheel out a little bit further, 5/16. And if you're okay with that, then you should be able to clear that lower A-arm. The second option, which they give it, but they don't recommend it, which I'm sure that's largely for legal purposes, is you can grind away at the lip, and it shows you exactly where to do it, even though they don't recommend you doing it, so that it'll clear. And you know, I don't necessarily like that option. You're modifying the original design of the component, and I think, you know, there's probably better options. 1, different wheels. 2, this wheel spacer if you're good with the wheels sticking out a little bit. But you know, we've got GM rallies. I don't know if they're the ones that's got this extreme offset or not. I'm not aware that there's more than one offset on those things, but we'll check it and see. I think what we're going to wind up doing is just going with a whole different set of wheels altogether. So probably won't be a deal breaker for us, but I wanted to mention that as the second warning, because it's kind of confusing. Like I said, it says in the Amazon description that it was designed again for the stock equipment and in terms of wheels, and it mentions nothing about those wheel spacers or, you know, all that in the Amazon description. So you've been warned. All right, moving on. Coil springs, I haven't taken them out yet. The part number on these is 4702. I think these provide an additional 1-inch drop, so that's how we get to the 4. The 3 inches are built into the spindle, and then another inch on the coil spring. So once I get these parts on the truck or in the process, then you'll see those out of the box. And then last but not least, we have the shocks. Again, all this come together. So they're made by Beltex as well. Nitro Drop 2 is the model on these. The part number for the front is 8005 for my application, and yeah, they look pretty good. There's a warning on the instructions here that says if you open the box and you see oil on the outside of it, don't freak out, that was put there during the assembly and it's not the shock leaking. So there's your little tidbit ahead of time. And it's got some mounting hardware for one of the points, so we'll dig into that as we get closer to time to put them on. All right, so now let's cover the brake kit. As I mentioned, we decided to go with the big brake system, so we made sure the spindles that we got was the right one to accommodate that. The brand for most of these components are Power Stop, and then most of it has this Evolution on it, so I guess that's the line of brake components. So we went with, I don't know if there was an option, but ceramic pads. Bearings are Timken So we've got front and rear bearings, and then there's a couple of seals in here. I won't go over the part numbers, but again, all 10 pin, which is very high quality. And then the rotors, they look real good. Nothing, fancy about them, not slotted or anything like that, but they look real well. So this is the part that you want to measure, and then in this case, this is 1.25 inches. So that's how you know that you've got the heavy duty set up. And then the last thing here is the calipers. So power stop, brake calipers. These things are good looking caliper. Got to have red brake calipers, right? So look at these things. They're, this in the heavy duty application, this piston is a lot bigger diameter. The pins, I believe they're bigger in diameter as well. But again, a real high quality looking part, even though they're probably all made in China. I think I'm going to be real happy with this setup. All right, next let's talk about tie rod ends and ball joints. The front end, it being off, you definitely want to make sure that you've got everything in order there. So if you weren't replacing the A-arms, you'd at least want to make sure that the bushings are good. Most likely they're going to be the original ones that's ever, that was put in there from the factory. If for whatever reason they've been changed and you're in good shape there, not worn real bad, you might get away with leaving the bushings in there, but I'd tell you you're never going to go wrong replacing those. Now, with that being said, I think getting the bushings out and getting the new ones in is a little bit of a challenge. There's going to be some videos out there that's going to show you how to do that. I've seen them. I won't have part of that in these videos because we went with a new replacement A-arms that's already got the bushings in there. So, look elsewhere if you're going to go that route, and I'll explain why we decided to get new A-arms here in just a second. But ball joints, definitely you want to take a look at those and then replace those if at all necessary. And then when you go back with everything, you're going to have a good tight suspension, hopefully. So what we did again is bought another bundle of parts. This was TRQ brand. All of it came from Amazon, and the kit came with upper A-arms. Already had the ball joint installed. The top one bolts in. So it came with ball joints for the lower A-arms. So those press in. That's a little bit of a challenge. Got a couple options there. If you take the lower A-arm off, which again you'll have to if you swap out the bushings, then you can either take it somewhere, somebody's got a press, or if you've got a Harbor Freight standing press, you can press it out most likely. The other option is a kit that you get at the parts out, the auto parts house. They will allow you to press the out while it's still on the vehicle. Now, nothing says that if you're going to take them off, you can't use that tool. I would just recommend pressing, if you're going to use that tool, I would recommend pressing them out before you take the A-arm off, because obviously it's going to be hard to hold it in place while you're doing that operation. And so the best place for that is on the vehicle to hold it in place. Rent that tool probably in the program where you can rent it basically for free, take it back, or you can also buy the tool on Amazon. So it comes with the lower set of ball joints and then all the tie rod ends that you need. So there's 2 inner tie rod ends and there's 2 outer tie rod ends, and then you have the barrel here that they both connect to. So all that comes in one specific kit. All right, another big part here that I'm not going to take out of the box, but we have lower A-arms. The reason why we bought lower A-arms and not just rebuilt the ones that we had is because I had one that was bent. When I took it off, I noticed it was bent badly, and so therefore, there's no straightening out something like that on your own. We decided to get some new ones. I believe there was an option on Amazon, but it looked kind of sketchy. You have to buy it separate. I don't know necessarily why it's different, i.e. doesn't come in a kit that has the top A-arm. Not real sure on that one, but at any rate, we opted to buy 2 new ones from LMC, and it was just original equipment, replacements, nothing fancy there, and was able to get those in really quick actually. Had the ball joints already installed and those as well, and of course the bushings, everything was there. So if you're going to replace the A-arms, you don't have to worry about dealing with ball joints separately. You don't have to worry about bushings separately. With that being said, you're going to wind up with a little bit more cost. So you can figure it out, total it up, figure out which way the best, route you want to go. There is a separate option as well that you could go with, tubular A-arms, and I believe you can, that comes with the top and the bottom in the kits that you get for that. I'm a little leery of those on a truck application, to be quite honest. They don't look near as strong. If I had a car and was either drag racing it or was worried about the look, show, I don't know, performance, road racing, there's probably several different reasons why you'd want to do that, but on a truck I can't think of very many. I'm sure they're probably out there on why you'd want to do that, but it just didn't seem like it was the best application for what we were doing. So we decided to stay with the stock A-arms. All right, so cost. I believe the lowering set, so the Beltec kit that had the spindles, the springs, and the shocks were a little over $1,000. And then I believe the brake set that had calipers, rotors, brake pads, basically everything that you need. In our case, the heavy duty system was $300 and some odd. We'll call it $3 1/4 if I remember correctly. And then the lower A-arms that we had to buy from LMC, those probably hurt the worst for what we were buying. I believe they're $199 a piece. So we spent $400 on the lower A-arms, and again, that was mainly because we had one that was bent. So all in all, I'm going to guess that 400, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to guess that we were all in probably 2,000 or so for lowering correctly a C10, 4 inches in the front, 6 inches in the back, and then in addition to that, going from the light duty brakes to the heavy duty brakes. So a couple $1,000s for both of those upgrades, definitely more than just replacing some of the components that you have and just going with the bare necessity. So again, what we were after is an upgraded system, doing the lowering properly. I will say too, on the kit, the Beltec kit, one component I left out that came with that for the money I mentioned is the C-notch for the rear. So that came with it as well. We'll cover that in a different video, but in terms of cost, all that comes as part of the $1,000 for that kit. So really there was 4 components to that, and I just mentioned 3 of them because we were talking about the front end. I think that's the list. I have no idea how long this video turned out to be. It feels a little long in the tooth, but hopefully you hung in there with me. Got any questions about any of the components that we're using here, feel free to leave a comment, and I will do my best to respond to each and every one of them. Like and subscribe, please. Helps me out trying to get this channel off the ground. I really appreciate all the viewers, and see you on the next video where we're putting parts together. Thanks.